Hey, welcome to It's Factor Football. Let's take a look at my top 40 fantasy football PPR wide receiver rankings. At number one, I have Jamar Chase. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is, he still produces monster seasons. This is an easy number one pick. Wide receiver two, Puka Nakua. We're going to have to monitor the offseason, but if he's good to go week one, his ceiling is as good as anyone's. Wide receiver three, Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's great, but I do expect somewhat of a step back statistically, but he's one of the clear top three wide receivers for fantasy. Wide receiver four, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's as good as the other guys, but there's just more competition for targets in Detroit. St. Brown's floor is sky high. Wide receiver five, Justin Jefferson. Last season was about as bad as it could get. With Kyler Murray now in Minnesota, I expect a return to prominence for JJ. Wide receiver six, Drake London. He's an elite talent and has little competition. Having Tua in Atlanta might be a good thing for London. Wide receiver seven, CeeDee Lamb. He's the 1A to George Pickens 1B in Dallas. The emergence of Pickens keeps Lamb out of the top five for me. Wide receiver eight, Nico Collins. He's a prototypical wide receiver one. I expect CJ Stroud to bounce back this season. Wide receiver nine, and this is where it starts to get interesting for me. This is what I'm going to have until we maybe get closer to week one. But wide receiver nine, Rashee Rice. I have plenty of concerns here between the off field and quarterback Justin Fields. When Mahomes returns, Rice belongs closer to the top five, but we don't know when that'll be, and I think the floor could be pretty low with Justin Fields. Wide receiver 10, Malik Nabers. If he were 100% healthy, he'd probably be wide receiver 5, but he's coming off a serious injury, and we don't know for sure when he'll be on the field. Wide receiver 11, A.J. Brown. He joins New England with an elite quarterback and something to prove. A.J. Brown could have a monster year in fantasy this year. Wide receiver 12, Tataroa McMillan. This might be high, but I want to be ahead of consensus on a real-life first-round pick who proved in year one, and he enters year two with the same coach and quarterback. We should expect a big jump in production. Wide receiver 13, George Pickens. He balled out last year in part due to a CeeDee Lamb injury. Pickens was still great when Lamb came back, but how healthy was he really? I'm not sure Pickens will quite repeat his numbers from last season. Wide receiver 14, Devonta Smith. I love his talent, and I believe he's good enough to be a true number one wide receiver in the NFL. I expect 90 catches, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, which should be good enough for a top 10 finish. Wide receiver 15, Chris Olave. Coming off a career season last year, which caught me by surprise, Olave's a very good wide receiver, but with the arrival of Jordan Tyson and his unfortunate injury history, I'm a little lower on him than most. Wide receiver 16, Zay Flowers. He's been a consistent producer in fantasy, and now all of a sudden there isn't much competition in Baltimore for targets. I expect a career season for Zay Flowers. Wide receiver 17, Emeka Egbuka. I'm not quite sure how to rank him after his up and down rookie season, but he showed flashes, and he's a real life first round draft pick, so I'll err on the side of him being the real deal. Wide receiver 18, Garrett Wilson. Very good wide receiver, just in a bad situation, now with more competition in the form of Kenyon Sadiq and Omar Cooper Jr., and he might be catching passes from Cade Klubnik sooner rather than later. Wide receiver 19, Ladd McConkey. A very talented wide receiver who I'm not sure is a true number one. What will the offense look like under Mike McDaniel? And there's also plenty of other targets such as Quentin Johnston, Oronde Gadsden, and David Njoku. Wide receiver 20, DJ Moore. I'm higher than most on DJ Moore, still just 28 years old with tons of talent. I think Josh Allen can unlock another level to his game. Wide receiver 21, T. Higgins. He's a rock-solid number 2 with potential for 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns. Wide receiver 22, Terry McLaurin. He's a solid pro who gets a healthy Jaden Daniels back. He should get plenty of targets with their current wide receiver and tight end rooms. Wide receiver 23, Jalen Waddle. I love the player, but is he a true number one? He also goes to a crowded Denver offense where they love to run the ball and spread it around in the pass game. Wide receiver 24, Devontae Adams. He can still play, but he's 33 and he only caught 60 passes for 789 yards last season. Wide receiver 25, Christian Watson. This is high according to consensus, but I'm all in on the talented wide receiver. It's a big if, but yes, if he can stay healthy, wide receiver 25 is way too low. Wide receiver 26, Rome Odunze. Another player I like, but he was not part of the Ben Johnson regime. I think Rome will be the third target in the offense behind Colston Loveland and Luther Burden. Wide receiver 27, Jameson Williams. You can probably pencil in 70 catches, 1,100 yards, and 7 touchdowns. He will win you some weeks, but can also lose you some. Wide receiver 28, Alec Pierce, a boom-bust wide receiver coming off an injury and a big question at quarterback. 28 might even be too high. Wide receiver 29, Luther Burden III. I love the talent and thought he should have been a first-round draft pick. This was Ben Johnson's guy at wide receiver. I could see him overtaking Rome Odunze. Wide receiver 30, Ricky Pearsall. Another wide receiver I'm high on, a real-life first-round pick, and in a great situation. He was on pace for nearly 1,000 yards last year. Wide receiver 31, Carnell Tate. Number 2 wide receiver in college behind Jeremiah Smith, but who wouldn't be? Tate enters the Titans as the number 1 with Wan'Dale Robinson as a high-volume number 2 sidekick. I have a hard time seeing the Titans fielding even a league average offense. I have a hard time seeing Tate producing much more than a boom-bust wide receiver 3 in fantasy this year. Wide receiver 32, DK Metcalf. He has a boom-bust nature to his game. He's playing with an aging quarterback, and the wide receiver room got crowded all of a sudden with Michael Pittman Jr. and Gurmy Bernard. Wide receiver 33, Mike Evans. He's a future Hall of Famer, but how much is left in the tank? He's 32 and coming off yet another hamstring injury. Wide receiver 34, Courtland Sutton. He's a rock-solid wide receiver who now has to compete with Jalen Waddle. I like Sutton a lot as a player, but have to drop him in the rankings. Wide receiver 35, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not sure it'll ever happen for him in Arizona, but I'm still willing to take a shot on the highly touted former first rounder. Wide receiver 36, Jacoby Myers. He's a high floor, low ceiling play. He could be the number 1 in the Jags pass game. Wide receiver 37, Quentin Johnston. He settles in as a boom-bust wide receiver 3 for me. Wide receiver 38, Chris Godwin. Another high-floor veteran, but he does have chemistry with Baker Mayfield. If Godwin is healthy, I could see him catching 80 passes or more. Wide receiver 39, Trey Tucker. He's the number 1 wide receiver in Vegas on paper. I think he has a decent shot at 1,000 yards. And wide receiver 40, Jordan Tyson. One of my favorite sleepers this year. He's ultra talented, and he's only behind Chris Olave, who's missed a lot of time. Well, what do you think? This has been It's Factor Football. Thanks for watching.